Go ahead. You can go.
Howdy, folks.
Hey, we got something breaking right now, and I'm trying to.
Yeah, we pressed the button and then said, "Hold on a second."
Yeah, you can't do that when you hit the button. Like that's it.
Oh, okay. Why don't we do? While Eck is looking up what he's doing, we can just do the brief pre-show there, Ross.
Okay. I basically was just going to mention. I noticed that MILB, who is in charge of minor league baseball, sent a note to Major League Baseball, and basically they're doing it because Major League Baseball kind of forced their hand to say, well, what are you going to do about these contractions that we're talking about? And so basically, in a bunch of information, and thanks to Pete Tessier for bringing it to our attention, what these basically are like enhancements to some of the ballparks and a few other things, but they're still planning on killing a lot of teams. And I thought it was kind of slimy the way Major League Baseball did it, because they sort of threw it back on the MILB, so they would have to do something and almost like say, this is what we're willing to accept. You know what I mean? Because they probably don't want anything to be contracted, but they're also funded by Major League Baseball. So they're basically forced to saying, okay, we'll make these concessions, and basically we're strong-armed. And my big problem with this whole thing is there are plenty of stadiums that are publicly funded. There are people's jobs who are attached to them, and cities that use it for tourism. And in the next couple of weeks, some of them are not going to have it. I get that they're not high-grossing crowds, but they mean something to these cities.
I'm of the opinion right now they're going to push this to next year, Russ.
I don't think so, based on that memo.
Well, I mean, we'll see. The other thing, just related to stadiums.
I hope you're right. I hope they do push it.
Yeah, related to stadiums, it's very interesting that Roger Goodell came out yesterday or the day before and said now all of a sudden he's open to the Bills doing a reconstruct of the New Era Field in Orchard Park, rather than, he wants a downtown stadium, wants a brand new stadium. But if they basically gutted the old stadium, they would be in favor of that too. They just put in $150 million worth of renovations into New Era Field, and now they're talking about, like, I would only assume that the proposal would be to gut it like Soldier Field, where they kept the outside of it and just gutted the entire, or what they did in Green Bay.
They're gonna make it look like a spaceship too. Is that
well, I don't know. I've never seen.
That's what Soldier Field looks like, a spaceship.
Yeah, I've never seen. I've never seen what Lambeau looks like.
No, me neither.
New one as compared to the old one, but it's tough for New Era Field because it's basically a hole in the ground. I think the Buffalo people actually would not mind it being renovated, because if the talk is if they have a new downtown stadium, that probably all the parking lot, the parking lot, cookouts and stuff like that would end, because it's downtown city limits. They don't allow like open bonfires and things of that nature. So we'll see. Yeah. Okay, Ack, you ready?
Yeah, 1 second. Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll just finish this off.
1 second. Finish your thought.
Yeah, because El Guapo just brought it up, and I don't want to waste time on this during the actual show. It was widely knocked down yesterday. I still don't know whether that means it's not true, but the rumor that came out from a couple sources was that the new Seattle franchise name was going to be the Kraken. I think it's stupid.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think it's dumb.
I happen to think that this may not be the name.
Yeah, I think that they shot it down. The Seattle NHL team came out and said all these reports are wrong. Now the thing is that they were saying that the domain name for the Seattle Kraken was purchased.
Well, they probably purchased 2 or 3 of them.
Right.
They always do that.
I bet they purchased all 8 or whatever, how many options there were.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm still praying for the Metropolitan.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to start. I'm going
with Sockeye. I'm good with that. The Sockeye or Sockeyes, either way.
I think I really want Kraken to be it, but we'll see.
I want people to throw salmon on the ice instead of octopus. Yeah. I like to see all that. Kraken, it's fictitious, man. It's like Bigfoot.
Not fictitious. Actually, it's not. You know, the Kraken is the giant is also known as the giant squid, which has been proven to be real in the recent years. So it is.
He's a cousin of the Loch Ness monster.
No, he's not. No, it is. The Kraken was what they called the giant squid years ago, and giant squid lives in the depths and fights only sperm whales. We didn't know that giant squid.
The problem with the Kraken is they're going to say, like, my uncle Phil McCracken plays for the team.
There you go. His name is Phil, and he likes rock cocaine.
Right.
All right. Well, let's move on past that. I got something. I got to be really quick today because I have a really important thing that's going on, but I want to get this story out real quick. So here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It is Thursday, January 30th, 2020.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund. You're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And I'm getting texts like crazy, so I'm trying to follow things as I go here. Sorry. Okay, so I have a real quick thing, and then I have something really important with my son that I have to get to. I apologize. Okay. But there's a rumor circulating that I've been tracing down that Dave Poulin will be the new GM of the AHL, which is kind of interesting. New commissioner of the AHL.
Replacing, was it Dave
Andrew?
Yeah, right. Who was also a great guy. But Dave Poulin, I think, would be a great fit. Nothing is definite yet. Some people are just flat out denying it, but I get the sense that it's in the works. So we'll see what happens. It's a possibility. It might not happen, but if it does happen, I think this is a great guy that they would absolutely.
That would be a loss for TSN because Poulin does a great job on their panels, and but it's a
smart guy, charismatic guy. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's a good fit. I always, he was an assistant with the Leafs, captain of the Philadelphia Flyers years ago, Bruin for a while. So yeah, Poulin. We'll see what happens. Not definite, like I said. Sounds like there's still ways to go, but something's definitely up with it. So we'll keep on it for sure.
Okay.
For what it's worth. And that's all I got right now. But I got to get going. I apologize. I will talk to you all soon. Okay.
Okay. All right. Russ, why don't we start with the game last night that everybody was focused on, and that's not Toronto, Dallas, but that's Edmonton and Calgary. And it was a 4-3 victory for the Flames in a shootout, but the focus mostly was on Kassian and Tkachuk, and they dropped their gloves. And as I would expect, because Tkachuk is, he's a big kid, but he's not a behemoth like Kassian is. The Kassian got the better. It was not a knockdown, drag out fight, but more of a, I think a victory on points for Kassian, but everybody was basically saying that Tkachuk, he gave him kudos for actually fighting. I don't think he had to fight.
I don't think so either. It was a fast fight. It wasn't that good of a fight.
Right.
I'm sure if you're there, it was exciting because you saw them yapping and they went. But at home, it was just like, I didn't think it was that big a deal, honestly.
Well, I mean, I think, and you could tell because the NHL had a ton of people there.
Yeah,
Peros was there. I think Stefan Quintal was there, and they had a veteran crew because a lot of people think that this got blown up bigger than proportion because the linesman, when the original incident happened, and Tkachuk hit Kassian. McDavid tried to hit him from behind a little bit, but it wasn't anything serious. And Kassian jumped Tkachuk and threw him around. And at that point, the officials sort of broken it up, but the linesman didn't have Kassian because Cassian's a big guy, didn't have him under control, and Kassian wailed for like 5 or 6 more punches on Tkachuk. And it's like, okay, and this has been my problem with the whole situation. Tkachuk. Oh, he took liberties with Kassian. He threw 3 hits. They were high. This is Zach Kassian we're talking about, guys. This is a guy who got suspended in the OHL for going headhunting. He's been a recidivist criminal type of high hitter in the NHL, and when somebody gives him his comeuppance, that's a beautiful thing. So I mean, like, I didn't have any problem with Tkachuk. I know that they think one of the hits on Kassian was a head hit. Well, Kassian got his pound of flesh. He whaled him in that game. I don't think it was incumbent upon Tkachuk to get into a fight with him, but he did. I'll give him credit for that. But okay, what happens on Saturday, Russ, when Tkachuk hits Kassian or hits Draisaitl or hits McDavid? Is it all starting all over again?
Probably. That's what happens. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I watched it. I watched it for the fight. The fight happened, and then after it, I sort of turned it off. It turned out to be a good game. I went back to it when it was 3-3 in overtime, and David Rittich was great in the shootout, and Calgary gets the extra point. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, yes, everybody wants the Battle of Alberta. I know I saw Mike Zeisberger on Twitter say last night, "I'm dying for Calgary, Edmonton in the playoffs." I think all of us are, but and somebody's asking, what's my argument? My argument is Tkachuk didn't have to fight. That's my argument.
Yeah.
But a lot of people thought he had to fight. So I don't know.
I mean, he wanted to. It doesn't even matter. He wanted to.
Yeah. Well, all right. Some other games last night. We'll start again with the Leafs, who beat Dallas 5-3. It was a good victory for the Leafs against the team that has given up the least amount of goals in the NHL. Let's start with the Dallas side of it. I like the way Dallas is put together. They got two good goaltenders. I really like their defense. They've got size and a little bit of snarl up front, led by Jamie Benn, who throws his weight around. They only have 128 goals for, and that's the problem that I see with them going into the playoffs. Every game is going to have to be 3-2 or 2-1 the way they're playing right now. Now, I don't know if they can loosen up a little bit and open it up a little more to get more offense, or they need more scoring, Russ. But I don't know if they can go deep with only scoring 128 goals through. They're going to get over 200, but I don't know how many more goals than that they're going to get. Yeah,
I don't either. I mean, I thought they looked pretty good at times. I think they also did a good job, and I had the sound off for that game. I was watching another one, pointing out that Corey Perry is pretty marginal at this point as a player. Yeah. Like, he really, especially since the Winter Classic layoff, he does not look great.
No.
So he was kind of ineffective. I think he only played a little over 2 minutes in the first period, which was startling, but that's where they're at with him. I didn't love, from the Leafs perspective,
well,
I think it was that goal right before the end of the first period that they gave up.
Well, hold on to the Leafs perspective, because we're going to get to that. The other thing with Dallas, first of all, Michael says, did you like the green Dallas jerseys? They're always green, aren't they?
No, it was different. It looked more like North Stars green.
I didn't mind the green jerseys. What I thought was bad was the tan pants and the tan gloves. They look
really did look North Starish, and that was cool.
Yeah, but I didn't like the contrast there. No, the only
although you wear tan pants in real life, I mean, people should know that.
No, I don't.
I've seen you in tan pants.
I've never worn tan pants in my life. Dockers.
I'm going to find a picture.
Okay, sure. You do that. Go.
I'm just kidding. I've never seen you in tan.
Russ Cohen, PI. So, I mean, I think that, and the thing is, they don't have a lot of cap space, I know that Martin Hansel's on LTIR, and he's been on there for most of the year, so they have a little bit of maneuverability. But I would think that Jim Nill, before the deadline, if he's going to do anything, he's probably got to see if he can find some inexpensive offense that he can find.
Yeah, I think he will try and find some inexpensive offense, and I think it's out there. Wow, what are you laughing at?
Now, Funky says gray gloves and pants would be better for Mike.
I think inexpensive offense will be out there. I wonder, would they try and get Cody Eakin back? He would fit right in. Like, that's a guy who
a little pricey at almost $4 million, but
right. But he could play there.
I mean, he can.
And they probably would retain a little Vegas. They have some cap maneuverability, not a lot.
Not a lot at all, no. But
depending on the deal, I think that's somebody they could be looking at.
Well, you could trade like a Steven Johns for a Cody Eakin because Vegas needs help defensively.
I mean that's a possibility, something like that, to give them a little boost. They're definitely a good team. They just like in that game, I felt like they were keeping right up with the Leafs and doing a good job, and then all of a sudden they weren't. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the difference was. The Leafs had a good game, there's no doubt. But they had the Leafs on their heels at the end of the first period. So tell me when I'm allowed to bring that up.
Well, no. And the goal I think you were talking about was at the end of the second when they were up 3-1 and they scored like late in the second to make it 3-2.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, no, this is the thing. This is the problem I had because everybody's the Leafs won. They scored 5 goals. They've scored 4+ goals in 8 consecutive road games. They won the game. They were able to score against a team that plays great defense. But I look at that game and I look at the type of game that Dallas played. You had Ben and you had a couple other players taking runs at Rasmus Sandin. And I give him a lot of credit.
Ben crunched him and Sandin still made a nice pass.
Right.
He took the hit to make the play is what that's called.
Right, and then Ben took a little shove on Marner, and Muzzin had to stand up for him, and Sandin got run again, and CC had to stand up for him. And again, I keep going back to this. The Leafs have no pushback. They hardly hit, and teams are not fearful of them. And this is the thing. That is an example of the type of game that they will play against in the playoffs.
Yeah, sure.
Against Tampa, against Washington, against Boston. A team will try to physical up on them, and they survived it for one game and they won. They got really good goaltending from Anderson, and they survived losing the physical battle by using their speed. But they can't do that for a 7-game series. And that's why I think, depending on who they match up against, if they match up against a team that can't play that, then they have a chance to win a round. If they play Boston, Washington, Tampa, I think they lose in the first round right now unless they're going to make changes.
I'll tell you what's sort of annoying about the Leafs is that if that goal is the same goal we're thinking about, player goes through like 3 defenders, gets Anderson to move all the way over, and still scores like on the high side.
That was Gurrianov's goal.
Right, Gurrianov.
Yeah.
And my problem with that goal is it almost seems like at times the Leafs are playing like a zone defense, and Gurianov figured that out. Yeah. And my problem with Anderson is, does he ever poke check? If he tried to poke check, then he could have broken up that play. Instead, he got used by Gurianov.
Yeah, he's not a poke check.
I know. I mean, it's just those are weird things that.
Well, but that goal, Russ, he went through the Leafs defense like a hot knife through butter. He went through the forwards. Yeah.
But you have to admit that plays there a lot. It's not just him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the goal that made it 3-2 at the end of the second period, Radulov, he took advantage of Cody Ceci being caught up the ice and then being caught not covering him in front of the net. It was a defensive lapse, and Ceci had one of his better games, but that's not saying a lot because he's not been great for them this year.
Yeah, and it's a good win for the Leafs, though.
It's a good win for the Leafs. Now they're tied with Florida for third place and tied with Carolina for the second wild card, but I believe Carolina's got a game in hand and Florida has 2. But the Leafs won 4 of a possible 4 points on a mini road trip, and they play Ottawa on Saturday. Other games last night.
I guess will be a trap game because Ottawa's been playing really well against teams, and they can't take that lightly.
They always play well against Toronto too because they're rivals.
Yeah.
In other games, the Predators bounce back from that really bad outing against the Leafs and win 5-4 over the Caps.
I watched a lot of that game. That's a really good win because it looked like it was going to be another loss. And UC Saros, I think, is the reason they pulled out that win because I think he made some saves that Rene can't make anymore. And I kind of wonder now, will they try and ride Saros if he can win a few in a row and just push Rene aside? I think there's a chance of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the Predators are completely out of it. I know after the last couple of days when we talked about it, it sounded like we thought that they were, but they were acting
like it's pretty grave, and I still think it's pretty grave.
Yeah, I mean, it looks bleak, especially, you look and you see that defense and you see Ryan Ellis is still out. And, I overheard somebody saying that, he's going to be out for a while. They don't know when he's coming back, and they're not scoring goals. So
they did yesterday.
They did yesterday, yeah. And that's a little surprising against the Caps, because the Caps are pretty good defensively. But, so, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how things evolve.
It was a good win. Like, it really was. It was a game where they overcame some adversity and showed us all a little something like, hey, like the Black Knight, we're not dead yet. And it's like, okay. And I am going to mention at some point we'll go to a segment where I've got some college players who might be able to help teams in the playoffs. And Nashville is one of them if they were to make it.
Yeah. The Anaheim Ducks beat the Arizona Coyotes 4-2 last night. Antti Ranta was in goal for the Coyotes. And again, we've talked about Kemper and their need to get him back. I'm not saying
he is the only thing that will get them far this year. It's not going to be Ranta.
Yeah, I'm not, I mean, they faced 32 shots, but I think Ranta
32 shots. I mean, really, it's not that big a deal.
Right. I mean, with a good performance, they're at least getting a point out of that game, and we know that the race in the Pacific is very tight. Yep. Another game I watched a little bit of was Tampa Bay and the LA Kings.
I fell asleep during that one, but I did see that's a Foley goal.
Yeah,
that helps his stock for sure.
Sure. And I talked to Dennis Bernstein from the Fourth Period on the radio show that I do on Thursdays, and we were talking about the 3 California teams. And
hold on, I have to let my cat come in. She somehow got out. No, keep the show going.
Oh no, I will. But no, I talked to.
She's literally coming in through the window. Come on.
It's an appearance. It's a secret. It's a special appearance by Anna.
How did you get out?
So the Kings had the early lead, but the Lightning came back in that game, and the Lightning are still chasing the Bruins. Actually, the Kings had a 2-0 lead, and then Johnson, Stamkos, Cernak, and Stamkos again. So they came back from a 2-0 deficit. The Kings are not great. They're not a good team. They're really in a rebuilding situation, and Jonathan Quick only let in 3 goals on 23 shots.
Yikes!
Yeah, so this is, but everything with the Kings you have to look at is through the deadline. It's through the prism of the deadline. And when I talked to Dennis Bernstein, he's like, there are 4 or 5 names that are being discussed. Toffoli is at the head of them. Alec Martinez, and then lower players like Kyle Clifford and Trevor Lewis.
Right. Remember, he's a clutch performer in the playoffs.
Yeah, but this was the thing. Dennis basically said that he doesn't think that the Kings will trade the guys like Lewis or Clifford. One thing with Clifford, if they trade him someplace, it'll be to a team like Toronto. I'm not saying Toronto, but like a team like Toronto that would want him to be a physical player and probably fight. And he doesn't. He's already established his toughness in LA, but in some other team, he would probably have to establish his toughness. And they may not want to. He may not want to do that, and they may not want to do that to him because he may want to come back to LA. But he does think Toffoli will be moved, and he does think Martinez will be moved. But the bidding on Toffoli right now is not brisk, and he thinks that a lot of the buying teams are sort of hoping to wait out the Kings, whereas they can get him for not pennies on the dollar, but not an exorbitant price that some people think the Kings will be asking.
Yeah, I don't think they were ever going to get an exorbitant price for Tyler Toffoli, but I think they'll get a decent price. Look, teams could all try and say we're going to wait it out and we're going to wait for the price to go down. And the minute an injury occurs, they end up overpaying last minute at the deadline anyhow if they wait that long. We've seen it happen.
Yeah, it's anything.
I remember, just as an example, I remember a team giving up a second-round pick for Thomas Plekanec as an example.
Breaking news here.
You remember that?
Sorry, there's breaking.
Oh, yeah, do the breaking news first.
Okay. The Devils have hired Gerard Gallant. They've also named. What's that?
What did they hire him for? What job?
Head coach.
Okay, well, you didn't say that.
Well, he's a head coach.
Wayne has a dream, has the job, so I needed to know that.
Well, he's been retained as an assistant along with Patrick Eliash and Scott Stevens, and they have relieved Peter Horacek and Mike Greer and Rick Kowalski of their duties.
Who were the previous staff?
Yeah, well, I think Horacek was brought. I think he might have been a scout, and they brought him up to help Mazardine.
But I know Greer was there.
Yes.
All right. So the last thing I was going to say is when teams do get desperate at the deadline, I remember a team giving up like a second-round pick for Thomas Plekanec.
Yeah, well, that was when the GM and that was when the coach was stupid, and the GM was stupider for making a move that. You don't make that move when you're not winning a Stanley Cup, and they weren't winning one. Or
the Rangers deal for the now Florida defenseman.
Yandel.
Yandel, for the Keith Yandel. That was a horrible deal too. So they will overpay. Teams will overpay. All right. So for the Devils, real quick, I brought this up on a different show. I think it was on Sirius, where I said I feel like Jack Hughes is going to have a better second half. Him winning in the shootout the other day was a good thing. Mm-hmm. But we have to remember, look at all the changes he has gone through as a rookie. He is now going to be dealing with his third coach. He's on a second GM.
And this is the
a lot for a rookie to deal with, man.
And this is the question that I have. Now they've hired a staff, they've hired a coach, but you have an interim general manager. Is this general manager the full-time general manager, or are you going to be the New York Jets and hire your head coach and then have him be instrumental in hiring your general manager?
They're either going to be the New York Jets, or they're going to just institute like Brodeur as the GM and Fitzgerald as the co-GM or assistant GM or something else.
Well, I've heard
to do the paperwork.
I've heard that Brodeur doesn't want to be a GM.
Yeah, he says that right now. Let's see what happens.
All right. So you think he's going to go down the Yzerman sacking?
I think there's a possibility. I mean, he's been in the front office. Now he was on the business side this year. They moved him back to the hockey side. If they offer him the job, do you really think he turned down? I don't think so.
Probably not, but
I think they would retain Fitzgerald too, unless he wanted to go somewhere else. So I think they would still sort of be working hand in hand, but maybe would just flip-flop titles.
Yeah, I mean, and I said this before, with all the UFAs and all the questions about players that are under contract in terms of trading them before the 24th, if Tom Fitzgerald is not your full-time GM, then I only allow him to trade the rentals. I don't allow him to trade Wood or Coleman or Subban or Zajac. You leave that to the new GM. But you're not going to get it. You're going to let guys like Vatanen and Simmons and a few others walk. For nothing.
They're not going to let them walk though.
Right. No, you have to move them, and that's why you have to whoever your GM is, you have to allow the. If it's Fitzgerald, you have to allow him to move those players because.
Oh, he's going to get the chance, and then they're going to decide whether they like what he did or not. I don't think Simmons is going to move, though. I don't.
Oh, really? Did I? Guys, I'm sorry. Somebody said this was a parody account. Yeah, it's a fake. Sorry about that, guys.
It happens.
Yeah. Now, well, see, hey, that's good.
It is going to happen. They probably are going to get another coach. I don't know if it would be in season, but they're going to get another coach.
That's good training for us guys when it comes to the deadline, because some asshole out there is going to be have a fake Pierre LeBrun account or fake Bob McKenzie account.
Yeah.
Or a fake Elliot Friedman. So we got taken. Ha ha. But let's get back to. Let's get back to the other games, and the Canucks beat the Sharks 5-2 Canucks have been red hot since before the break, still scoring a bunch of goals. I know the previous game, Thatcher Demko had a great game. I'm just checking to see who played. It was Markstrom, and he made 38 saves. So they're getting really good goaltending. I don't think they're a particularly good defensive team.
But they're good enough.
But they're good enough. They're getting great goaltending, and they're
getting great goaltending. There's no question.
Now, the Sharks, again, talking
I
to
will
Dennis.
tell you this. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Their puck moving on D is great, though, because of Hughes. That's really helped getting the puck out of their own end. Maybe they're not strong defensively, but I noticed they get the puck up the ice quickly. That's half the battle.
Yeah, I'm Edler as a veteran guy.
And he blocks a lot of shots. Edler blocks shots.
Yeah, Tanev has been healthy and played well.
Yep.
They added Jordy.
He said that he probably will get hurt again.
Right, he probably gets hurt. Jordy Ben as a free agent addition, and Tyler.
He's always decent.
Yeah, so I mean, you have Jordy Ben as a bottom pairing guy, and I'm not sure. I haven't watched enough Canuck games. I'm assuming he's on the bottom pairing.
I'm pretty sure that's what I saw the other night.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, if you limit him to 14, 15 minutes, he's a bigger player. That's good. I don't know where Vancouver adds, if they do add. I know they're going to be, I'm sure they're under pressure from ownership to add something so they help their playoff chances. But I can't imagine.
I think if they add like another tough player like a Brandon Saad, then it won't all be on Virtanen to sort of play that role and to get greasy goals. And I think that would help them.
I mean, Clifford might be a fit.
Or Clifford, a guy like that. I think that's a big add for them because they do have a fair amount of skill, but I think they need more of that.
Now, we discussed Brendan Dillon, and
we discussed it offline.
Well, no, I was with Dennis, but I was going to bring up saying that right now it's Dillon and maybe a couple other names in terms of really big defensemen on the market. I'm talking about rentals. The rental market for defensemen is not great. If Dillon,
he and Vatanen are the best guys.
Right. And like Kevin said yesterday, Vatanen he's a right shot, but he's not exactly tough to play against. Whereas Dillon he's 6'4", he's a left shot, he's young enough, he's still mobile. But
I mean, he's mobile enough.
Yeah.
He's definitely a bottom pairing guy. And especially if a good team's getting him. My problem is,
but he's being sold as a top 4 guy.
Yeah, and he's not.
Because he's top 4 for San Jose.
Right. But he's not. If you think about Brendan Dillon, he is not a top 4 guy. And he is also a guy that if you're going to just go with the toughness factor and the hits, I brought up a comparison online 2 years ago. And before that, Michael Del Zotto would lead the league in hits and definitely lead defensemen in hits. And Michael Del Zotto couldn't even touch the ice in the Stanley Cup last year. So Dillon's a little better than that, but I wouldn't give up a lot for him. No way.
Yeah, who was the guy from Philadelphia? Oh, Dan McGillis.
Dan McGillis, who couldn't hit the net.
But he led the league in hits because Bobby Clark told the statistician in Philadelphia to say every time he came near somebody, that's a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now this is the interesting thing. So let's bring up this. Our buddy Ty Anderson was sort of I don't say pumping up the tires because I think
that's what I was alluding to. And I was going to protect the innocent, and now you.
No, well, I don't think he has anything to be ashamed of because I don't think Ty has anything to be ashamed about because he's not.
No, nothing to be ashamed about. I just think he overdid it with the hit factor.
Right, and the thing is like there's a lot of teams out there right now that are saying, "Oh my God, Brendan Dillon is the answer," and I'm like, you're really pumping up the value of Dillon more than what he is. I think on a good team, he's a 5. On a team that needs defense like Toronto, he might be a 4.
And I don't want to use hits as a data-driven thing to prove somebody's worth because, like you just pointed out, it is a home cooking stat to begin with. So we don't know how accurate hits are around the league. Let's be real about that too. So I think if the Bruins got him, he's definitely a bottom pair for them. And so how much are you giving up for him? I mean, I'll give him Zach Senyshyn. I'll give him, a 3rd-round pick. I'm not giving any more than that.
Well, the I would say that more than likely they get a second and a prospect, but probably, I mean, Senyshyn.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, that's the market because it's not just.
You could pass. If you're a Bruins, you could actually not do it.
Yeah, but what's your option then?
Play what you have. They're a pretty good team.
No, they want to add that they see an opportunity here to win. So these and the thing is, Boston has enough assets that they can overpay. Other teams like that will overpay because they see an avenue to winning the Stanley Cup. So if it's a question about paying a little more than they have to, I think they will do that. I think teams like St. Louis will do that because they have a window. And Boston has a window too. How many more years do you think you're going to have Bergeron, Krejci, Chara? So I think they would probably end up paying a second-round pick in a Senyshyn or a Zaboral.
Yeah, if Marv Levy were the GM, maybe. I mean, he always saw a pathway too, and he got there, and he never won.
Well, he was never the GM.
No, I know. But he was after he's done. He was what was he called? He was definitely helping the GM. He was not a scout, but he was.
Well, later on after his coaching stint, he became GM of the Bills.
Yeah, he did. So
yeah.
I was right.
But I'm talking about during the 4 Super Bowl.
No, I know that, but he was a GM. That's my point. And he was a guy that already knew how to lose. No offense, Marv. I mean, you got there 4 times, which is great, but he already knew how to lose. So that was my point. You tried to stamp on the part that I had right, and then you made me think about something other than GM when I was right. How dare you?
He already knew how to lose. I'm trying to shake that off. Okay.
I'm sorry. Andy Reid's no different.
Yes, except Andy Reid is basically 2 Marv Levy's put together. Okay, so some news and notes here. The Edmonton Oilers have re-signed the aforementioned Zach Kassian to a 4-year extension at $3.2 million. Okay.
Before we get into that, I want to mention, so the Bruins already traded their 4th-round pick for Johansson last year, and yeah, there's something else.
Do they have extra picks next year?
Hold on, let me look. So if they were to trade a second, then they would have a 1st, a 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th. Like you're already starting to get into dangerous territory there, I think.
It might be a second in 2021 then.
Yeah. I'll check. All right, so talk about Kassian.
Which just sounds weird to say you're trading 2021 draft pick.
No, but it happens all the time. I mean,
no, I'm just saying it's like, I'm used to like, hey, it's a pick in 1997, not 2021. Okay. So the Oilers re-signed Kassian.
They only have their first 3 picks, and so there's no problem there.
Yeah. Okay. The Oilers re-signed Kassian 4 years, $3.2 million. I think this is a dumb signing. I know he's having a good year right now. He is a player that I don't think has the discipline to stay on the straight and narrow. And I'm talking on the ice. I mean, I know he's had his off the ice problems. I'm not talking about that. He has lost his mind like he did with Tkachuk before. I think the reason that they paid him this money for this term is because he's playing with McDavid and he protects McDavid. So is he a modern-day Dave Semenko? No, he's got more talent than that. I just don't know if his impulse control is good enough to keep him out of trouble. And who knows?
He's 29. Let's bring up his age with all the hanging and banging he's done. He's 29 years old.
Right, and that was the other point. Who knows whether he will regress in terms of his speed in 1 or 2 years, and then you've got another Milan Lucic on your hand.
I just don't understand this. This seems like a Daryl Katz signing more than anything else.
What I think it is I think
that Ken Holland would have done this on his own. Do you?
No. What I think this is that they're so desperate for wingers, and one guy is actually having an okay year when they're grasping at straws for wingers, that they decided, okay, we can get him for a reasonable cap hit, and they did it. I don't agree with it. The other thing here, and I want to address this chatter in the chat room because I don't know if it's just like they're doing it just to egg me on here, but
They would never do that, Mike.
Oh no, of course not. Bada Bing in the chat is basically trashing Tavares and saying Tavares is 7th on the Leafs in terms of performance, and he's regressed. I don't know what game you're watching. He's not. Yeah. He's on the line and he's setting up Nylander. Nylander's having a career year, and his center is John Tavares.
He's one of the only guys that deflects pucks in front of the net. He's good on faceoffs. Just stop.
And I don't think he's slowed down appreciably. He's
never been overly fast. So how could you even say he's slowed down?
Exactly. I mean, yeah, one of the things one of the risks on signing Tavares is he was 28 when they signed him. He's 29 now, turning 30 fairly soon. He's not going to be good for all 7 years of that contract.
I don't know about that.
I hope he is. I mean,
he's sort of like Luc Robitaille in the sense that he doesn't have to be a super fast skater because he's highly intelligent and knows where to go on the ice and knows where the puck is, where it's going.
Yeah. At the end of that game last night, what did Sheldon Keefe do on that number one line? He replaced Tavares. He replaced Matthews with Tavares because Tavares is a better defensive center and he's a better face-off guy. Now, plus minus would tell you that Matthews is better center-wise, but I don't believe he is. He's going with the more experience.
Right.
Mark Peterson in the chat said if Toronto had Kassian, he would get $5.5 million a year. No, they would never have Kassian because I don't think they like that type of player. He's a one-dimensional guy. I think he's got an offensive ability, but he's just a physical guy. And I don't think he has much. He can score the occasional goal, and because he's playing with McDavid, his offensive numbers are elevated. But I've never liked Kassian since he was a first-round pick of the Sabres. He's just
I liked him for like a year and then realized he does have impulse control problems. Look, I get it. He's going to have career highs and everything. We'll see if that carries through for 4 years. I would never have given him 4 years, and I would never have given him, 3-point whatever. I would never have done it.
Yeah.
I would never have done it. No.
Now, we've discussed this particular player and the lack of smarts upon the Boston Bruins when they signed David Backes to that long contract a few years ago. He got sent to Providence about a week or two ago. He cleared waivers with a $6 million salary. That was no shock. Comes out today, and it's not turning into an acrimonious situation. Backus basically, it sounds like he did not want to report to Providence.
Right.
That they've got the cap relief, the $1.025 million cap relief, and they're saying
Backus is just nowhere.
Right. They're saying he's in shape, but he doesn't basically they're saying they don't feel the need for him to go down to Providence and be part of the Bruins, and that, they're okay.
Basically, if two players get hurt, maybe they'll call him up, but otherwise he's just sitting in the ether the rest of the year.
Right. He's probably an extra forward going into the playoffs.
Right.
And if you need somebody physical, maybe he steps in, but I don't think the Bruins can send any other clear signal that either they're hoping he retires at the end of the year or they're going to buy him out of the final year.
And they also sent down Brett Ritchie, right? That's another failed signing.
And that was only a 1 year deal. I mean,
bad signing.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I agree. But that was a signing to replace guys like Achari and that left last year. Backus has another year left at $6 million.
I mean, we don't have to go over it. We all knew how bad that was at the start, but it just goes to show you that not everything the Bruins do, touches turns to gold. And so they do have some issues, and eventually they're going to pay the piper. Eventually their system is going to run a little dry when some of these guys are retired or close to retirement. Mm-hmm. And they just keep kicking that thing down the road right now, but it's going to get there. It gets there for every team.
Thomas said in the chat, and I don't know if this is the case, maybe you heard it, that the Flyers called up Alex Lyon with Hart. Hart's going to be out at least another week.
I mean, that's possible. I have not seen anything about that yet. I did see Shane Gostisbehere on the ice. So I don't know how soon he's getting in there, but he's not in a protected jersey, so that's interesting. He's going to get there at some point. But it does the Flyers. Yeah, Alex Lyon's up. Yep, and Connor Bunnaman is up as well.
So get this.
Thank you, Tom.
The Kunlun Red Star of the KHL are playing their final 2 games of their season in Russia because of the coronavirus outbreak in China.
Ouch.
And this is how serious it is. I have a friend who's teaching in Shanghai.
Yeah.
And I talked to him a couple days ago over the phone, over the video, and he has to wear a surgical mask in public, and they will only let you in. He went to a Starbucks. They would only let you in after they tested your temperature. They have a gauge that they put on the person's forehead.
No.
Yeah, and if your temperature is normal, they'll let you in. If your temperature is not normal, they will not let you in.
The problem is people can be asymptomatic and be carriers.
Right.
So you can be a carrier and go into Starbucks and make the whole place sick. And the other one is sometimes it takes a few days for it to show up. So, like, that's weird, though. That's like Star Trek-ish, though. If I were a friend, I'd get the hell out of there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I would go on vacation.
Of course, he loves it there, and I'm like, you're nuts. But anyway, one other thing about the California teams that I talked with Dennis Bernstein of the Fourth Period about this morning was, and this is being widely reported, and I think we mentioned it yesterday, but I'll mention it again because we talked about it, was Josh Manson.
Right.
There continues to be speculation about Josh Manson. Now, apparently Manson is not having a good year with the Ducks. He's under contract for 2 more years at $4.1 million. He's 28 years old. He's a right-hand shot. He's a physical defenseman. So if he's available, then I'm sure that there are going to be interested parties willing to trade for him. But again, the question I had, and Dennis agreed, was it makes no sense for Bob Murray to be trading Manson unless they think that Manson is slowed down and he's just not that good of a defenseman. I don't know. I mean, not.
He's good.
I think he's a pretty good defenseman. I mean, if we know right-handed defensemen
They can't give up any defenseman. They have to. If they give up Josh Manson, they don't have anything to replace him with. Why are they doing this? Because they can't re-sign him?
No, because they don't think he's that good anymore. And maybe
I disagree with that.
I know. I mean, I don't see it. I mean, I don't see every Anaheim game, but I've seen enough to see that maybe he's not having a good year, but he isn't a bad defenseman. What are you going to do? Re-sign Corbinian Holzer and play him?
I do have breaking news.
Go ahead.
I am going to start a bowling podcast called Gutterball, and that's because of the upcoming stakes match between 3 bowlers, Pete Weber, the fake Triple H, being one of them. And so I did invite Joe Yurden on it, and I will now publicly invite him on it. I don't know what kind of – yeah, Mike, we'll give you a segment on Gutterball.
I mean, I bowl, so I should be on it.
But so does half of Milwaukee. Doesn't mean I should invite him on a show.
Yes, but you do podcasts with me. What the hell is going on? Right, Anna? Anna, pee on him. Go ahead.
Yes, we might have a premiere episode of Gutterball, so look out for that. Anyhow, go ahead.
Okay. I don't know who's El Guapo is saying. I don't know what he's talking about, but I did see, and I did see that Ed Balfour got arrested again.
Yes.
For public intoxication in Kentucky. And my answer would be, what else is there to do there in Kentucky? I
mean, look, I think he's got a problem and he should get help.
So do I. But it was out there, and he had the funny Nick Nolte police shot. So, I mean, I'm not going to kick a guy when he's down. I mean, it's like, are we going to talk about the $1 billion jokes? And
I'm leaving it all alone.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, we'll take some questions in the chat here.
Did you talk about my Rose Apothecary sweatshirt and why it's great? No, I mean, if people want to, I'll answer to that. That's fine.
Okay. Bardicus asks, guess the first big trade. Okay, let's say.
Didn't we do that already? That was like We did that already.
Well, maybe he didn't see it, so give him.
We have to do it again.
Give him what you said before.
Sammy Vatanen. Sammy Vatanen will get traded from the Devils. That is the first big trade. That's what I said last time.
And I said I'll stick with Toffoli, even though what I was told today is that the offers aren't that great for him. But I think that they want to maximize their value. But at a certain point, if everybody's offering a third-round pick, are you going to hold out at the possibility of him getting injured and then you get nothing?
Before questions, remember I have a quick segment here.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's some guys who are impending college free agents or guys who may end their college career after this season, and they're drafted by teams that might make the playoffs. So David Cotton is one. He plays for Boston College. He would be a good addition, similar to Chris Kreider, for Carolina to put on the playoff roster. And I could see that. He's a big guy. He gets in front of the net. Would he play center for them? I'm not sure. But I could see the sense there. Tanner Lisinski, I mean, if the Flyers can't make a trade for the bottom six forward that they're looking for, Tanner Lisinski might be the answer if they make it to the playoffs. Because, again, most of these teams, the Frozen Four ends April 11th. By the way, if you catch me, April 7th is when my book comes out, basically Sticks and Stones, and I'll probably do a signing out there at the Frozen Four, or you could just buy my book online. But anyhow,
where's the Frozen Four again?
In Michigan, in Detroit, Joe Louis Arena.
Okay.
So that's
you mean Little Caesars Arena?
Whatever. Yeah, Little Caesar.
Whatever.
But Lisinski again could be a very good guy to add. He's physical. He's fast. Again, would he play center? Maybe not. But that could be a kind of addition that, you know what? If the Flyers can't get what they need, you put them on there. Like, what do you have to lose? The last one could be very interesting for Nashville if they were to be in the playoffs because, let's say they're still coming up a defenseman short. Maybe Ryan Ellis comes back, gets hurt again. David Ferentz played with Dante Fabro at Boston University. He's playing there now. He's more than a point a game. He's really fast and really good with the puck. He's got 11 goals. He's very offensive, but he's not a detriment on defense at all. Like, he's very intelligent on defense with puck retrieval. That would be a hell of an addition if they could get him to sign after this season and then throw him on the roster. These days, in a cap world, none of these things would shock me.
These guys are like gold. I mean, you're getting them on your ELCs for $750,000 to $800,000, and you can plug them in. Whereas somebody you have to trade an asset to get them, and then their salary might be bigger than that. So yeah, that's a good point. Okay, other questions in the chat. Davy Jones, how's your locker doing?
I thought Davy Jones was dead.
Hearing anything about Ristolainen if Botterill will listen to offer? I'm sure he'll listen to anything right now, but I think it's unrealistic that Ristolainen gets traded before the deadline. I still think if they trade him, it's a summer move. He's had a better year this year than last year, so I think they're going into the summer with more leverage in terms of getting what they're looking for him. But I know that Elliot Friedman reported in 31 Thoughts this week that the frustration level is rising in Buffalo, especially among ownership with Terry Pegula. And I don't think it's going to get to the point that they'll fire Botterill, because if they fire Botterill, then I think they have to sweep it clean. I think they have to fire everybody. And
I'm saying, trade other guys. I mean,
they're on a crossroads right now because and tonight the Sabres are playing Montreal. They called up Jonas Johansson, who's had great stats down in the American League. And what do? They're starting Carter Hutton, who's lost 11 games in a row. So
they're just, at this point, like, they're just looking for anything, right? They're looking for some sort of sign of something.
Right.
But I don't know, man. I mean, you look at what they have, and last year they brought up Lawrence Pollute, and this year
Pilot. They call him Pilot.
Sorry. And he's probably not an NHLer, although he's like fourth in scoring.
He's a 6 or 7.
He's a 6 or 7. Okay, yeah. But again,
I like Will Borgen better. But what is
the deal with Will Borgen? Like, what is the problem?
He's just playing in Rochester right now. I think that they have too many. The problem is that they already have too many defensemen. They have, they've been sitting.
They don't have too many good defensemen.
Well, they scratched Bogosian on Monday. They've been sitting Colin Miller off and on, and that guy has 2 more years at over almost $4 million a year.
At this point, is the plug that's keeping Will Borgen out of there.
Yes,
Borgen is probably better than he is. He's probably more physical than he is.
But
he's definitely stronger than he is.
But good luck trying to get rid of Bogosian because Bogosian's got a $5+ million.
I don't care. I don't have to play him.
Right, but you can't give him away. He's making too much.
I could get rid of him. I could just send him to the AHL. At this point,
wow,
you're getting to that point, and you're holding back a guy like Borgen who played on the Olympic team and looked pretty good, right? Remember those days?
Did he play on the Olympic team?
I think he did. Well, he was. I know he was trying out for it.
Right. I don't think he made it.
But either way, they thought enough of him.
But he played a few games in the NHL last year, and I think he's an NHL player, and I've heard that he's doing pretty well down there. But he's locked up behind all these defensemen, and this is the problem. You've had a stockpile of defensemen.
Yeah, he did make the Olympic team.
Okay. You've had a stockpile of defensemen for the entire year, and you haven't been able to make – and this is an NHL that needs – a lot of teams need defensemen. It's like at a certain point, make the move.
Yeah, I mean, I would make the move tomorrow if I could for Bogosian. If not, I would send him down. I need to start getting some of this youth up here and playing because all I'm doing is just slowing down the whole process.
Okay, Caleb asks, given John Marino has taken on a top 4 role in second power play, does that make Justin Schultz superfluous and available in a trade? No, Pittsburgh's trying to win it all.
Justin Schultz will walk in and take the role that Marino's doing.
Right.
Marino will be in a lesser role, and Justin Schultz is a proven playoff performer. If you go look
at 2 Stanley Cups.
With 2 Stanley Cups and you look at his points, he has an instant slot once he's healthy.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They're very happy that they have Marino.
Absolutely.
Marino and Pettersson have been pleasant surprises. So
if they were to win the cup, he'll get his name on the cup, but
but he might be a bottom pairing guy. But
he would be.
Schultz was on both Stanley Cup teams. He's a UFA. I mean, I think what Caleb's looking at is they need to open up cap space. Well, yeah, what they can do is trade Galchenyuk and trade something to have somebody else to take him on.
Right.
And then they open up almost $5 million in cap space. So that's – and again, teams like Anaheim, like –
get someone to take Jack Johnson off their hands.
Yeah, but the problem with that is it's 3 more years. That is one of the worst contracts. That contract for it was a 5-year deal for under $4 million, but still
bad contract.
Anyway, okay, good show. We will be back tomorrow. Probably an early show, early morning, 9, 10 o'clock. We'll let you know. But we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Eklund, who was here briefly. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agel. Thanks for watching. And remember, without the buzz,